Hey, what's up, Terrell? Hey, Scott. Finally worked for you? That's good. Did it come through email or what? Oh, you get a pop-up on your computer. When I stream, all I do is get an email. Hey, customizer. Busy week. Didn't get what I wanted to get done, so I gotta do a night of catch-up work. I really want to get all these items painted and done, and just didn't get what I wanted to get done this week. Hopefully you had a better week than me. But right now I'm just having an issue with this Thundra. It's after I started painting it, all of a sudden this whole area was all out of whack, and I didn't see it with the primer. Just one of those weeks where I was working on stuff, but other stuff was coming up, and I just didn't get I needed just to focus on paint work, and I just didn't get a lot of it done. Then this thing, I was ready to do this last night, and I started doing the base coat, and I noticed that there was all this weird wonkiness here. I guess the way whoever cut it, for the 3D cutting, instead of cutting it here, they cut it at an angle going down. So I had to build this up with eaves, but then when I built it up with eaves, it wasn't lining up correctly, so I had to, I've been kind of puttying this and priming it all morning, and I'm almost there where it's going to work. But I just couldn't paint it and have it looking the way it did. So I figured, let me do this right. Just a weird cut. Very, very strange cut on this one. That's one thing I'm learning about the 3D prints is, when you put the primer on them, everything looks good, but then when you start adding paint, you start to see things you didn't see with the primer. You know? There's I see little lines here of the, whatchamacallit, I guess the layering. So some of this stuff pops up more when you see the skin tones on it. And it had a big weird thing underneath here I didn't see before. What is it? Vexilla? I can't put my glasses on. What did you say? Voxel lines? Yeah, see, it's weird. I didn't see, I saw the ones here on the booty. There still is a little bit more here. I gotta kind of sand down. But there were some heavy ones here. But it's not all 3D prints, though. I guess it's I guess it's how they support them. Is that how it is? So I guess this is something I gotta get used to. It's free. Like I primed it up. I'm like I'm ready. And then there was also it was really really bad underneath her chin. It was like, I guess I didn't see with the primer. It looked like there was like a bunch of gunk like glued in there. I don't know if it was from the 3D print. So that's something else I was working on too. She's almost there. Just a little bit more and I think I'm good to go. But I've just been finding these errors here and there. And I would be doing this in the garage, but it's so damn cold out. And then the other problem too is when you start doing the paint work, and then you find the lines, you sand it, but then you have the resin, the primer, and then the paint, and then if you try to put putty, you get all these different layers, and it's hard to sand it all down. So this is kind of like a learning curve as I go with these 3D prints. I learned that with this skin tone, when I sand it down, I have to hit it with primer again because the primer helps fill in that little layering. So, like this spot right here, it looked fine with primer. Then when I hit it with paint, it had kind of like a point. It was really really weird. I don't know if that was a sculpting issue or a 3D print issue. So maybe you guys know more than me, but just adding color brought out all these problems. But it was bad though. It was really bad. I mean, if you guys got any tips to let me know, tell me ahead of time, but I don't know. I'm trying to figure out this stuff as I go. We're kind of getting there. I think I solved all the problems. I hope I did. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to have to do with some of this 3D stuff. It's weird, because some of the 3D stuff I've worked on, I didn't have to do anything. It came out perfect. But this one, it was stuff that I just didn't see at all. Like right there, there's like a little spot sticking out there. There's a lot of stuff back here I cleaned up. These 3D prints are deceiving, you know? They look good, but once that color gets on there, all of a sudden stuff pops out. And one thing I noticed too is sometimes, well, especially with this resin on this one, I would see a little bit of a glob sticking up, and I would sand it down and then hit it with paint, and it globbed it and sand down with like the foam sand. So I would have to actually use the regular sandpaper to get rid of it because it's a little bit of a tougher resin. So that's something I noticed with this one. So I guess certain resins kind of sand down, some don't. Yeah, I'm gonna have to we're gonna have to come up with a way in the garage where I can sort of get like a light and kind of turn the character with the primer. Because I think it's the gray primer that makes it hide more, I think. Maybe I got to start using the red primer, the red oxide more with 3D prints. If it's just a 3D print, maybe I'll have to start going that route. Because maybe the red I'll be able to see better. It's the only thing I could think of. It's got to be maybe the gray primer. Because it's like right here, you can kind of see it on the bottom of the booty here. And I thought I prepped this good too. I thought I sanded it all down and I got all the divots and lines, and all of a sudden I guess I didn't. And it sucks too because it's cold and I'm doing this stuff in the studio when I would rather do it in the garage, but I'm gonna have to do some major spring cleaning next year. You know what it is? I think pinholes I could deal with. You know, like pinholes and little, stuff to fill with putty. It's the lines that piss me off. Because you don't see those lines until it's too late. Now, is it because some printers cause more lines? Is it because it's failing? Like I said, other prints I get from people, I never see any lines at all. .240 grit's too high. 240 is... Wait, I'm sorry. No, that's kind of... I do 220 and 120, I think, grits. But I think this one I'm using right now is 220. I think these are 220. I noticed though on the 3D prints with the sponge stuff, it doesn't really, it sands stuff smooth, but it doesn't get rid of the lines though. Like you definitely got to use like regular sandpaper. Yeah, I figured they would need sanding. I'm not saying that they don't need sanding. It's just that I think the most common thing I get is those little swirly things, but the lines is I don't come across those lines as much as I used to. This one has more than normal, but some of the other guys that print for me, I haven't seen those lines in a long time. Yeah, I just got to get used to this stuff more. Like I said, I don't like 3D printing is kind of becoming the norm. So the more people ask me to paint up, the more I'll have to get used to spotting it. So I'm so used to the old school prints with pinholes. That pinholes and stuff is kind of like second nature to me. But this is kind of something that's like I got to learn how to do this more often. But I got most of it. I'm sure when I do the red part of her outfit, there might be more popping up at me, So I think the next 3D print, I'm going to try and do the red primer and see if that helps me see stuff more. The only thing with the red primer, that stuff kind of like stains everything, so I got to do it in the garage more. She also had some wonky stuff going on with her chin. It looked like, I think it was like sort of like a failed area around her chin. So I had to kind of clean that up. I think that's kind of what that might have been like a failed area, I think. Because I don't think a sculptor would kind of glob resin under there. So I think it was kind of failed area. But I got it cleaned up. Hey, what's up, Iceman? Only problem I don't like with those lines is if it's like over an area that's detailed, you kind of, if you sand it down, you screw up the area. That's a downside. Just doing a catch-up work tonight. Cold weather, real life stuff, busy. Just non-stop. But I think I solved this issue. I hope I solved this issue. Love to get the skin tone done today. The upper body's looking good. It was just this ab section that was a nightmare. Well, that's good. You'll probably upgrade the camera down the line anyway. Alright, let's give it one good sand down on the booty in the airbrush booth, and I think I solved it, I think. Good thing about an airbrush booth like this, I can sand in here too and sort of kind of collect the dust. Not all the time, but for this it's not bad. Here. Alright, I think that should do that. Just kind of spray a coat of paint on her and hopefully I don't see any issues. I'll have to check out the camera down the line. Nice, man. See how it is. One good thing about these acrylic paints. They're like the garage kits, so kind of when they dry, you can sort of sand them down a bit, and they don't like peel. But if you overspray them, though, I notice if you have too thick of a coat, then it might peel a little bit when you go to sand. But if you do a light coat and then you see like an error and then you kind of dry it up, you can kind of sand it down. So that's the good thing about this stuff. Alright, moment of truth. Let's see if this solved the issue. Yes, there's still a spot there. What the hell is going on with this thing? I think this area is okay. Oh, this thing's getting frustrating now. Frustrating. Hey, raccoon. I don't. It's like I said. It's the way they cut it, and I thought I solved the issue, but I guess I didn't. Gotta kind of see it at a certain angle. Like I said, what happened is it should have been cut even, but it was cut like at an angle going in, and it looked, there was no like, it was like a just chiseled. It was weird. But after I put in eaves, like I sanded this part down. I'm gonna go ham on this right now. That's what I'm gonna do. just grind it out and then throw sleeves on it or something again. One or the other. Where's my other sandpaper? It's just pissing me off because like I keep sanding this one spot here and it's just not going anywhere. So I think what I'm going to do is, this is like a... And I'm going to have to really clean this up. This spot just was not sanding down. I might need to just like prime it all up again. Yeah, it's like a piece of resin that's kind of sticking up. It's not going away. Might be small to you guys or other people. To me, it's just bothering the hell out of me. It's like wet primer and stuff, so it's gonna get messy. I mean, I've been through this before, and I've been through worse. So it's not. It's just that, you know what it is. It's just time consuming. Every once in a while, you get that item where when you start painting it and you work on it, there's no problems. But then once in a while, you get an item like this where, like, you think you're ready to go, and then when you start doing it, it's like a snowball effect. You paint it, and then you see this error, and then you go here and you create another error, and it just keeps going down to where you just kind of do it all over again. But yeah, this little piece of resin was like sticking up, and I thought I had it sanded down, but I'll get it. One way or the other, I'll get it. I don't let these items beat me, you know. So what happens is, I don't know if you guys can see it in here. It starts to peel a little bit, like, because it's still wet, but it'll, with some putty and primer, it'll get cleaned up. I've worked on projects in the past where I literally had to strip it down again. Of course, I won't do it with this one, but it's just that weird little piece sticking out. So over here, this is starting to look good. Sometimes the sand, the skin tone and little light sandy can actually help fix the error too. So that's probably what I need to do over here. And then there's this one spot here where it's kind of like cut in, I have to fix. I do miss that Garage Kit's skin tone because it made this type of stuff easier. Yeah, that's looking better now. On that side, it's just this two areas over here. Yeah, it depends on what acrylics you use. Most of the like acrylics are rubbery. That's why I gotta try to not run into an issue like this. But given enough time, if they dry up, you can sort of sand them down. But Createx is the worst, though. So what's going on right here now is because there's resin, and then you have primer, paint, primer, paint. It's like a big like that much, you know, like a lot of raised up. But at least I got that piece out. So what I normally do on something like this is I'll use some putty. I'll let the putty really dry overnight, and then the next day I'll hit it with a primer and then sand it down. So it kind of fills up that. It's like, think of like a M&M candy shell that's broken. And one thing too is some of this paint is wet still, so it needs to dry so it kind of flakes a little bit. So, but I think that got that spot. Resin gel. I'll have to look into it. Yeah, so there's just this one little spot there that you'll catch in the certain light. So I just need to fill this in. And I think that would be fine. So what I'll probably do is I could wake up tomorrow morning after I get my coffee, kind of get this going. I could probably paint this tomorrow, but I just wanted to get it ready. Yeah, so, alright, so with this putty, I don't know about like what putty you guys use, but this putty here, I like this because it kind of helps with layering, you know, like, so you have resin and then you have like your paint, so you have like that little gap there. Instead of throwing like eaves down and trying to sand eaves and all that stuff, this putty works pretty good. But the only thing about this stuff is when this goes onto your paint, it sort of kind of reacts to the paint a little bit, and it kind of makes the paint soft right away. So if you go to try and sand this down, even though this sort of dries, the paint's a little damp in a sense, I guess you could say. So I usually, since I put that much putty on there, I'm gonna let this dry overnight. So this way, when I come back the next day, it's pretty like toughened up, like the air's gotten into it and it kind of hardened up. If you do like a very little, let's say, like, for instance, where was it? I think there was a spot somewhere. Well, for instance, on her chest, there's like a little tiny pinhole here, right? So if you kind of take the putty and you just kind of go over the pinhole real quick like that, and you kind of just like do that. Give it like, you know, a good 5-10 minutes or so, and then you should be able to sand it and it should be fine. But, you know, doing a heavy putty thing, I kind of like to let it dry, because it's just, what's going to happen is I painted this all up and I put putty on it. It's still kind of damp, so if I try to sand it down, it's just going to peel again, you know? But that's why I work on so many projects at once, because if something like this happens, I could set it aside and work on the next one, you know? Hey Alex, I use double actions. I can show you in a second. Let me just put some more putty on this one area. So what happened was I sanded this down at the wrong angle, I think, and I created a notch, and that notch is pissing me off. So this should be able to fill that little notch that was there. But like I said, I'm gonna get this cleaned up one way or the other. This putty is good, but it's not good for building up like curves and stuff. It's just good for like filling in like scratches and leveling some areas out. But this area is looking good, finally. It's just this spot here, and this is looking good too. Just a little light sanding. Okay. Yeah, if you saw this what it was in the beginning, you'd be like, holy crap, it came a long way. See how it is over in this light? Alright. I think that'll work. I have a torch. I'll have to look up that stuff to see. Oops. Don't want that going. So for my airbrushes, this one is my HPCH. This is my dual action. So this one I use for a lot of my work. I just like it because it's got the bigger cup. That's HPCH. And then this is the Revolution. This is for like thicker paints. And then I do have a couple other airbrushes I use. This one right here is... everything's a dual action, almost, except this one though. This is for bigger, larger areas. What the heck is this one? This was the HPTH. And then I have this one for when I do really, really small details that I rarely use too much. This one, smaller cup. This one is HPB plus. Everything's Iowa that I use. Alright, let's put this over here. So that Eligo 500, what is it? You put putty on it and then you got to torch it? or something. Yeah, but Alex, if you're still in chat, I use Iwata because I like their needles. They're a lot stronger. And I don't know, I just like the way they feel and work. I've been using them for years and years now, and I love them. So, but other people love Badgers, other people love Pache, some people love those Steinbeck ones or whatever they're called. Printer resin? Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think I'm okay with the putty. The problem is, it's just I got to do this learning curve with this stuff. You know, it's the 3D prints of, like, what I used to do is whenever I did garage kits, I would use the red oxide primer, and whenever I did my customs, I would use the gray primer. But the red oxide was hard to get, but now it's good to get again. So maybe I should switch to the red oxide to go back to doing the 3D prints. Maybe that's what's going to help me see everything. Yeah, Alex, but like I said, Alex, those are the brushes I use. I started off with Badger, and I have one Pache in my collection, but that's just for chrome work. But I hardly use that one anymore. I haven't really done much work, but yeah, like I said, my workflow is fine. You know, whenever I work on an item and I see there's a problem, this putty works good for my priming. But I've already started the paint work, and that's why I'm having this issue with the peeling. But if I don't do paint work and I'm just doing primer, everything works fine the way I do. It's just that the 3D prints, what I think I need to do is grab like lighting like this I have here and kind of start putting the item up against the lighting to see if I see lines. So that's kind of what I think I've got to start doing with these. I don't know if maybe it was because this was printed large that maybe something happened. I don't know. But I gotta go back to my red oxide primer. I think that was my mistake on this one. Because whenever I used to do like regular garage kits, you know, like regular traditional garage kits for people that didn't require custom work, I just use red oxide. Even like the ownage stuff. Yeah, I still get lines on other people's prints. But I think it's just this area cut was bad. I think it was just the way the sculptor cut into it. And like I said, I didn't realize it until like I was ready like to start painting it. I don't know why I didn't pick up on it when I put it together. But that's alright. No, this is a 1/4 scale, but she's such a tall character, she looks like a 1/3. But when she stands against, like, next to Captain America, Iron Man, she's a lot taller. I think, what is she supposed to be, like, almost 7 foot or something? Or 6 something? But she looks like a 1/3. I mean, it's a good sculpt. I mean, it's a great sculpt for the character. But if we had to fill this up with resin, it would have been a nightmare. Would have been a lot of resin. Yeah, so... Alright, so the only thing that's, like I said, bad with this putty is when it dries, it kind of sinks down. So that's the only downside with it. I don't know. I got too lazy. I never really tried other putties much. Because I know some people said the Simply Green stuff is good. Right? Is it Simply Green or green stuff or something? You could blow dry this stuff too if you really were in a rush, but I don't like to rush my stuff. I don't think so, Alex. I might have. The only problem is I'm never really looking at the screen too much. I don't like during the day when I'm working. I'm just playing music and listening to people's kind of. I don't know. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try some other putties. I know everyone said that green stuff was good. Alright, so I think once I start adding some shadows and stuff onto this area, it'll be fine. Yeah, so it's just this area here, and I think we're good to go. Maybe tomorrow I can sort of stream when I start painting her up. Yeah, I'm not seeing any other problems anymore. I think I got most of it done. Although the bottom of the chin's still a little wonky. I don't know if you guys can see it. Like, I know it's the bottom of the chin, but to me it still seems a little wonky under there. See what I'm saying? Can you see it there? I guess a little bit. Yeah, it is. It's bothering me. Yeah, I don't know. Stuff like that just bothers the hell out of me. Sometimes that's why I don't get stuff done fast enough. So I'm gonna go ham on this one too. We're gonna use this. It's funny, as collectors and painters, I noticed that all of us kind of see things different. Like, that probably wouldn't bother somebody that gets this in their collection, but they might see the line over here on her leg and be like, that's bothering the hell out of me. But then another person might see a little bit of a pinhole over here and that might bother them, but it could be really screwed up over here. It's like, and then there's people who, like, cannot stand when their keys aren't painted, and they're like, my key isn't painted, but I'm like, you don't see it anyway, but they're like, I want the key painted, you know. So I guess as collectors and painters, we all see things different. I'll tell you one thing though, I would rather deal with this type of prepping a kit than the old kits of having to deal with the pinholes. I don't know if you guys have seen the old kits back in the day, but sometimes when they would cast up an air, like, you know how this leg is separated and this leg is here? Sometimes the old kits would have air bubbles and pinholes coming all the way up the leg, and it would be a nightmare to fill all that stuff back up. I don't know if you guys have ever dealt with any of those old kits or have ever seen them, but that'll put some gray hairs in your head. Those old kits, man. Oof, there were some kits where they would send it to you and there would be such an air bubble here, you would have to rebuild the whole leg and everything. Yeah, 3D stuff is definitely leagues better than the old kits back in the day. Like when I say old kits back in the day, I'm talking about when we go back to around 2003, when everybody had to use molds. You know, you'd have to have the sculptor make it, then send it to a mold maker. They were so they were so bad that sometimes you'd be working on something and just when you're done, you hit an area and all of a sudden there was an air bubble there and you break it into the item and you'd have to rebuild that whole item and paint it again. That was back in the day. That happened to me one time. I forgot what character I was working on. I was painting them up and I think it was like something around the arm. I remember putting putty on there and then all of a sudden I heard a pop and it was like an air bubble, like it was like this big in the arm. It was like that big and the whole thing just popped in there and I had to fill in the whole area. Is that what it would be? Overhang? Is that what it's called? Yeah, it was pretty funky under the chin. Still a little funky on this side. Like I said, I didn't see it until I started painting the skin on it. So that's something I got to keep in mind. If you guys could find this stuff, it's really good. This, I don't think they make it anymore. It's this rolled up sandpaper. So I usually cut like little strips. It's good for doing stuff like this. I'll show you guys the roll in a second. When I found out that it was discontinued, I bought up a bunch of rolls. It's good for getting between like legs and certain crevices. Yeah, that looks better. It was this 3M stuff. I don't know how long this stuff will last, but it's like stretchy plastic film stuff. And what I do is I roll it out and I cut little strips like this in different sizes. And it's good for, like, you know, if you want to get between the legs or if you want to get like a curve going. So yeah, I don't know if they make this stuff anymore. So this is like ultra flexible 3M stuff. This is a 100 and this is 220. So I found a place online like about 2 years ago and I bought up whatever they had left. I got like 3 rolls and like 8 pads of that stuff. What I need to do is make a little piece. Alright, so I make my little throwaway sandpaper pieces. So just grab this, write that down like so. Grab some glue. These never last long, but they're good for, you know, getting in an area. I'm always making these little sand pieces. Grab some Insta-Set. That's too thin. So my little cheap sandpaper. It's good for doing something like this instead of trying to get the finger in there. Alright, hit that with some primer, and then tomorrow I should have her ready. Alright, that should solve that problem. Get the fumes out for a bit. Alright, I'm gonna put her aside. So before I do any other stuff, I want to do his skin tone. Alright, so this is that Tony Cipriano Superman. This is my friend's kit. I got the cape perfect on me, even though it looks weird. So I'm actually proud the way this worked. It took 3 tries. So the first try didn't work, the second try didn't work, but I got a rod in here, and then basically this rod goes there, and it clicks in perfect. Absolutely perfect. Though the first 2 tries were a nightmare. But I'm pretty happy the way that clicks in now. So. But with this one though, I was able to find a lot of the errors. I don't know why. Maybe just because it was sculpted a little different, or maybe because of the way the light captures it. Yeah, this Superman's nice. Cipriano's doing all the old school stuff. So, he is solid resin now. He printed it hollow, but he is solid. So, pretty happy with it. Yeah, see now I see a couple spots. At least they'll be able to be sanded down okay. Yeah, going forward I'm definitely using a red oxide primer from now on. It's probably going to show me more errors. Just that one little finger. See, that's why I like that acrylic stuff, one layer. And it's good to go. Too much layers, it's a problem. One little finger. Little finger issue. Let's see if we can get this. This is why I hate the winter. Because something like this in the summertime, I could just go in the garage and do it real quick and then come back in. But with the winter, you can't sit there and prime it either because you gotta have the garage heated up. Set the right angle. That's why I love this stretchy sandpaper stuff. It's awesome to kind of get in this area like this. So if you guys could ever find this stuff, you'll like it, trust me. See, I got that little finger spot without having to jam into something on this area. This resin sand's a little bit different compared to that other resin. So I guess whatever resins people use, some sand better than others. And some are tougher. Prep works always sucks, doesn't it? Problems with paint lifting? What do you mean lifting? The only problem I would have right now, if I went in the garage and I sprayed primer in the cold, the primer would bleed. It wouldn't lift. I gotta get the garage with my heater going, because I got one of those garage heaters that it's on the wall. Not on the wall. What's like on the ceiling rafters. It takes about like an hour to heat up the garage to the point where I could go in there with like a t-shirt on if I wanted to. and then I could prime no problem. But what I don't want to, I don't like to, in the winter time, turn on the heater and go in the garage just for like an hour a day, or try to time everything where I could go in the garage and work on it all day long, and then the rest of the week I'm inside. Because it really sucks sitting there like heating up the garage and you're only in there for like 5 minutes. Just try not to burn too much electric, I guess. Because it adds up too with that heater. Even though it's a good, it's not as a bad, but some putty there, I forgot the sand. No. No, I don't, well then again, I don't tape really, so. I don't really ever tape anything, actually. If I don't have to. I find that taping, no matter what I've done in the past, would always pull up paint. Hey Raz. I don't know, I've had bad experience with every kind of painter's tape there is. The only tape I know I can use, but it's like when I'm trying to do something where I just kind of need to block it off. But if I try to put like tape around this leg and then pull it up, I find no matter what tape I use will rip it up. But if I sort of need to do just like a quick little spurt to correct an area, I can use this tape. What I do is I put it on my shirt. So like say I have to do this little area here real quick, like a little bit of a mess up. I'll take the tape and I'll put it like on a t-shirt or a sweater. And then what I'll do is I'll kind of just put it like a piece of tape right there, hit the area and then pull it off. But I don't sit there and like tape, you know, like put the tape on and then X-Acto blade it around and let the tape sit there for like an hour or two. Because I find that if you put tape on an item and you put your finger on it and you're holding it and you're kind of like moving your stuff around, after a while when you go to pull it up, that tape kind of really sinks into your paint and it'll pull it up. So I tried the Tamiya paint, I've tried this paint, this tape, the Tamiya tape, I've tried other tapes, and everything I've ever used pulls up paint. Even if I let the item dry for like a week, it still pulls it up. I don't know. So I just stick to silly putty. Silly putty and saran wrap. I tried liquid mask and that killed an item on me. I tried liquid mask like 3 times where I painted an area and I put liquid mask on it. You know, I mean after it dried and stuff, and then when I pulled up the liquid mask, it just ripped all the paint up too. So maybe the liquid mask is more for like enamels and lacquers. I've used acrylic, so I think the liquid mask kind of seeps into the acrylic. I don't know, I don't like tape. I just don't like using tape. You know, because I think also the other thing too is, you know, with silly putty, you know, because it's a 3D item, you know, with silly putty, you can kind of wrap the silly putty around the muscle, you know, and then you can sort of kind of work out your edge. Whereas tape, with a straight line, the tape never wraps around correctly, and I don't like that. So, but it's preference. Whatever you like to use and works for you, do it. But for me, I just don't like using tape. Just not a fan of it. Alright, now I switched to my HPCH. That was my Revolution, so I switched to this one now. The only thing is, I cleaned this out with that Createch stuff, and for some odd reason, this cap clogs on me so much. I have to, even though I usually airbrush without the little piece on it, for some odd reason, it's been clogging up a lot more. But that's alright. I rarely use it. Just gotta be careful not to bend the needle. Alright, so first things first, I'm gonna stick with him with the pale pink, the tan flesh, some of my mixed up color, and probably some others here, which is flesh wash and maroon tint. Now my friend doesn't want him to be tan, but he doesn't want him to be pure white either, so we gotta make him a little bit more of a lighter skin, but have some detail in them. So the only thing that sucks about this sculpt is his hands are on his hips. So it's going to be some masking. Even though he has veins on his hands, I know my friend's not into like making him all veinied out with the blues and pinks and all that stuff. So he likes it more classic, like comic book. So we're not doing that on him. So I just like to throw color on him first. Get into the darker areas. Then kind of go back in with the lighter. Some people paint light to dark, other people paint dark to light. I kind of just slap color everywhere to try to build up. Alright, so I'm going to grab some of that flesh wash. Yeah, Terrell, this is the Tony Cipriano Superman. My friend's picking up the line. So this right now, this is the 1/4 one. It's the, what is it, the old Justice League sort of cartoon series, you know, or the comic book based stuff. So basically just painting him to make it look like a comic book, you know, not super detailed, not like all veiny, or, you know, kind of sort of how I paint normally. He was hollow. I did put a rod up the leg, so the rod goes all the way like up to like up here almost. I forget how far, but we filled it all with resin too, so this feels like a polystone statue now. That's how heavy it is. So I also have the Space Ghost, but 1/6 scale. I'm gonna pop that out to do him next. But I just wanted to get, I'm doing like skin tone this week on everything. So like this whole week's just been like skin tone work, which is good. I did get the Medusa painted up to skin tone, so I got to work on her outfit next. So I just been like going crazy with all the skin tone of everything. So I got a lighter color now. So I'm trying to do is more softer skin than instead of trying to do like washes or pastels that get in all the crevices. Trying to make them more like the comic book, a little bit softer look to them. I like everything softer when I paint too. I like to make it more like a comic, but I also like to kind of do layering. That's why I missed that Garage Kit's flesh tones. That stuff was amazing. I'd like to do next, hit it with some Desk Tester's dull coat. Sort of melted a bit too, kind of spraying far away. So he's got to be lightened up a little bit. One thing I noticed with the acryls, they seem to have a little pink into them where you really don't need to add like a reddish shading or anything. Like, you know, like the transparencies that Garage Kits had. It sort of has that pinkish tone to it already. So I guess you could add like a raw sienna if you wanted to yellow it up more. But I think this works for him. Like I said, we're going more that comic book look and sort of. So I have a little of this maroon tint from Freakflex. It's sort of like that vermilion hue almost in a way. Kind of mix it up with a little water. Hey Joe, how's it going? Sorry, I found a little stub. Gotta clean up. Alright, a little bit more highlights. That's pretty good. Alright, I think we kind of got it where we want it. Let the booth go. Alright, let's see how we're looking over here. I think that looks good. I think I'll send it to him like that. He'll probably get all excited while he's at work. Once you add the eyebrows and the eyes, I don't like to... I mean, you can add like a wash over the lips, but I hate it when they become too pink on males. Even though that's kind of like realistic. For like a comic book character, I try not to do that too much. So kind of takes pictures, send it to him, let him get all excited, and then see what he says. And then after I'm done painting it, I'll put it in the trash can and take pictures of it to him. Alright. So what I like to do is let this kind of put aside for like a day, come back to it like tomorrow or another day, and see if there's anything I need to correct, or if there's something I don't like. I like to let skin tone sort of kind of dry, because sometimes being a little bit like semi-wet and then it's like brighter than what it is. But I think this looks pretty good. It's not overly pale, but he's not like tanned out. So, alright. Next thing. Okay. So, next one is I'm working on that, what's it called? Working on, Captain Britain, and that's kind of the outfit we're painting up on this one. Sort of like that. So I guess his helmet is it all red? So the front of it's red, and then I guess the back of it's blue. I guess that's the way it is. So yeah, so we have 3 heads here. Alright, so I guess the back of it is blue and the front is red. So what I need to do is mask off the skin tone and paint. Oh crap, the eyes are skin tone too? Ah. This one's white eyes, but these are skin. All right, we gotta add the skin on the eyes. I didn't realize that. So we had a special blue mixed up for him. So I have that in a bottle. So we'll do is the back of these heads now. Then when I'm ready to do the red, I'll have to do the red sort of separate. I just need to kind of mask off this area. So this one, the chin is white with the back piece blue. So this is kind of like white, and then this is blue under here. Alright, so I'm gonna have to try to go a little easy on spraying this one. Let's see. Alright, so this one we'll have to spray down more. You guys see the Supergirl trailer? I think it looks pretty cool. I'm kind of excited to see it now. I wonder who's going to win the Paramount or Netflix to buy Warner Brothers. I think Gunn is doing alright with Supergirl and Superman. I think it should be a fun movie. Yeah, I think he's going to do a good job as Lobo. I think the whole movie should be pretty decent. It looks fun, so that's all I care about. I hate all that dark, gloomy crap. But with the whole sale, though, going on, I wonder if, you know, I'm kind of curious to see what happens. Because I know Paramount wants Warner Brothers in the worst way. I think they offered $33 a share now or something like that. So, I honestly, I think Paramount would do better with DC than Netflix. Because I don't trust Netflix for anything. I think Netflix would probably screw everything up, you know? They would probably get rid of James Gunn. They say they wouldn't, but I don't trust Netflix. And everything would be Stranger Things in DC Universe, you know? Now the rumors is Paramount, if they get it, they want to get rid of James Gunn and bring back the Snyderverse. I don't know how true that is, but that's kind of the rumor. But I think at this point, whoever owns up with DC is probably going to screw it all up. So, I have no faith in any of them. The rumors Netflix said that they would not get rid of James Gunn and they would let him doing what he wants to do. But I don't believe Netflix I think that's bullshit. They would probably come in and say, nope, we're gonna change this. We want to gender swap that. We want to do this, you know. So I don't trust Netflix. Yeah, I kind of, the way I see it is like, I think every IP is just dying, and I think whoever ends up with these IPs just keep killing them more and more. Disney killed them, you know. AT&T didn't know what the hell they were doing with DC. I just think that, like, I think the days of good IP holders are gone. So I think the days of us being able to just click a button and come up with a TV show with a program is on the horizon. So let's face it, if Disney can't do anything right, I don't think anyone can. Alright, so this is the blue we mixed up for him. So I gotta do the back of these heads. Yeah, like I said, I don't have faith in these companies anymore. Instead of just making something good for a specific audience, they have to make it for everybody's included, and it doesn't work. Alright, gonna paint up Giganta's whatever her weapon is. Where's the metal? Okay, it does stay. Alright, for this one, we'll grab the older airbrush. Where is the cap for this? There it is. So I have AK Interactive Steel, so I guess we're going to put steel on this because it's sort of steel-like. But maybe add a little rust to it as well. I don't know if the handle's supposed to be like a leather. Maybe we'll do something on it. Yeah, we'll paint up the handle like a red leather or something. I don't think it's supposed to be all metal. I don't know. Anyone know the character at all? I know the pictures I have, it's sort of metal, but I don't know. This is one of those items where I have to paint it first and then Dremel out a hole to connect the chain afterwards. So this is sort of a build as I paint item. Alright, he got back to me. He said it's metal, so that's all I gotta do. So I'll let this dry because it's still kind of tacky, and then I can kind of add a little rust here and there, and I could probably gloss it up too. Like with the AK Interactive, once it cures up a bit, you can kind of hit it with the car clear coat, but then sort of hit it with AK Interactive again, and it'll get like a nice little sheen to it. It's kind of a tricky, but I can do it. Alright, so I'm gonna put this aside somewhere. Put it over here. Right there. Should be good for now. Alright, next step is Space Ghost. Where's his heads? I need the metal, or I need something for Space Ghost heads. Nah, I don't think I do. Maybe I have something else I can use. Is this one? There we go. Good old kitchen knife, that'll work. Alright, Space Ghost doesn't really have much to its face, so I think he's definitely more on the lighter side. Since I'm right-handed, let's switch to over. kind of like how that color turned out. Might add it on Superman a bit. Let's see. A little bit of a orangey badger kind of made it look a little bit more like the Garage Kids color. Yeah, that's kind of brightened up the skin a little bit more without being too pink. I might have to start adding this badger into the acryls a little bit more because it kind of gives it that orange look a little bit more than the pink. That looks a lot better now. It's a good thing I have 2 bottles of this badger. I don't know if they make it anymore. Yeah, I like it. Not bad. Okay, what's the next item to work on? That head, that is heads. She's got till tomorrow. Alright. Yeah, my friend's really excited about the classics stuff Tony Cipriano's doing. It's basically the statues he's always wanted. So it's always cool when you get that one item or set you always want somebody to sculpt. Okay, so I'll do his red masks another day, but I think I could do his chest now. So I don't know how well it's shown in camera, but he's not really that blue. I mean, he is blue, but we're following this Captain America blue. Yeah. So it might not be showing well in camera, but like when you put him in person next to the screen, I got it as close as I possibly could to this blue. But the problem is this has a texture and that has a texture, but they're different textures, so they don't look the same. But I matched it as best as I could to like one specific blue area. So that's kind of what we're doing on this one, which is kind of cool. I kind of like the idea of doing a different version of them. You know, everyone's doing the big bright white version with the red boots and stuff, but we're doing this one with the darker blue, which is kind of cool. So the X in the inside is going to be red, but the outside X is going to be white, and that's going to be the hardest part of the body, because white always sucks, but it should look good when it's done. So this area is red, but this is white and this is white, but this blue right here I think is just like a design thing, so I don't really have to worry about that. So let's start with the arms. I don't have to make it perfect, just, well, as much as I possibly can, because we don't want to leave any lines. Lines, I mean, if you just throw silly putty over it like there, and then you spray it, when you pull up the silly putty, there'll be like sort of a little line on that area. So I just gotta kind of get here. This is gonna be one of those pain in the asses. I think this item works good with the texture, because he's such a very simple character design. So the texture works. I just hate when everybody textures every single sculpt they do. Not really a fan of that. I think we had a wave of texturizing everything, and it kind of like sort of stopped after a little while, I think, which is good. But some people still kind of hit that texture on everything still. I know Sideshow was kind of doing it there for a while too, I think, but so this is the thing that always sucks, the tedious stuff. See, I could never tape this. I think I've seen some people, they would sit there and tape all this. Hopefully I didn't just make a mark. I could fix it. I couldn't sit here and do tape on this forever. It would drive me nuts. I don't know if you guys would tape something like this. Too lazy? I mean, would you silly putty it, or would you just paint it with a brush? I mean, it is texture, so in theory you could get away with doing a paintbrush on it, but I mean, I'm just doing red, so it doesn't have to be perfect because I'm not going to spray it completely to the edge. But I don't want to have it over where the white is going to go. When I do the white, though, that's got to be perfect, so that's going to be a pain in the ass. I think when I do the white trim, it's going to be like wake up in the morning, get my coffee, sit down, and just kind of like mask off for like 2 hours. And then just spray it once with white and then done. Brush will work on this with texture stuff. So something like this, you could definitely do it. At least there's no yellow on this one. But Thundra has yellow, so that's gonna suck. Hey, what's up, Butterfly? Yeah, the only downside is if I try to flip them over and I get silly putty on the towel, it's gonna stick into the towel, so. This is the joy of painting. That's why I love a lot of the Instagram videos. They always show the fun parts, never the tedious stuff like this. I'm sitting there and they have it all masked off and they're spraying it, and I'm sitting like, yeah, but that was like, you know, probably an hour worth of masking. You rushed? Heh. Oh, finished. I'm sorry. I can't. I don't have the glasses on. I got the head thing. Tiny squares? What are those? Does she make them, or are they like something you get? I might have to do like I might have to paint this white, the white areas, but I might have to maybe like a lighter white or darker grayish white, do a trim around. I might have to come up with something to separate it. Oh, makes little squares. Yeah, that makes sense. I could see that. That's not a bad idea. Like I said, I just don't like tape. I'd rather do this for like an hour on an item than to sit there and tape and then rip it all off. I think, like I said, the one time I used tape back around 2003, 6 era, 5, when I ripped up all that paintwork I did, I almost threw the item at the wall. I was so pissed off. And it was dry paint too, and it was the painter's tape from like the Maya, I think it was. Oh, I know what I need to do. I have to, so it doesn't stick to the towel. pretty excited. Next week my Flash kit comes in the mail. I forgot the name of the guy that's doing it, but it's gonna be my Barry Allen Flash. Something I pre-ordered like I think 2 years ago. I can't wait for that thing. That's gonna be awesome. It's gonna finally have a Barry Allen in my collection. You could say it's a Wally West too, but it's gonna be my Barry. I didn't like the Sideshow one, that's why. It seemed so weird. It was a good sculpt, but it just seemed so wrong looking running. I don't know, it just seemed weird running. It's not like the Flash I know how he runs in the comics. So, and I ordered a kit of the Flash because I didn't want it pre-painted. So, I don't know when the hell I'm going to do it, but I think if I could get through this hump of finishing up a bunch of people's stuff and get back on track, maybe next year, because next year it seems I'm going to have a lot more kits to paint than actual customs. So if I have more kits to paint, I might have more free time if I'm caught up. So we'll see. I'm hoping. I really am. I would really like to get, because I still have my Nate Gray to finish. I mean, actually start. Then again, I'm waiting for the Blitzway Superman so I can make my Kingdom Come Superman. And then I got to make the Kid Flash with that Kingdom Come. And then I'm going to turn that She-Hulk kit I have into Power Woman from Kingdom Come. So I'm going to have Superman, Power Woman, and Kid Flash. And then if I can finish up some other Kingdom Come characters, I can add them into that setup. Then I want to do those Bayonetta kits. I want to do the Blood Rain kit. Yeah, I got a lot I want to do. The problem is am I ever going to get to it? I just need to get a good flow back, you know, just get a good flow of commissions, getting them done, getting them out the door, get back on, you know, get ahead of the game like I used to be, and then go from there. I got some ideas for work in progress videos next year. I want to get those started again, so I'm hoping. Let's see, I got 2 items over there I'm going to do work in progress videos for. But I think the goal is with those, I'm not going to post them until they're finished. Or at least maybe I'm like 5 videos ahead of the first one. Because what happened is when I was doing the other work in progress videos, I had too many real life emergencies with my parents. So everything got so delayed. I want to try to get back on track. Well, what I'm thinking of doing next year is, you know, I try to do stuff for the streams, but I think doing 3 kits for the stream boats is too much for me. So, I mean, I don't know if the Patreon people want to see me do stuff on my own, but I'm thinking maybe add some of my side projects that I have onto those Friday stuff. Because I'm sitting on, I have that Jill Valentine Resident Evil kit from E206. I have the Lady D from Resident Evil kit sitting there collecting dust. So I was thinking maybe let's use those for Friday streams too next year after I finish what I got here. Let's see, and then I have that Psylocke, with the one where she's has the kimono and she's like half naked. So I was thinking of maybe turning that into a different character and use that for a Friday stream. Because I want to get rid of all the side items out of the house. But I'm thinking maybe we pick one kit, you know, one 3D file, and we have a vote on it for Patreon. But then do some of those side items too. We'll make up other characters. Yeah, because I think, you know, I'm thinking that's kind of what I want to try to do next year. And if the Patreon stuff kind of falls through, then I'll just, you know, just cancel the whole thing. But I think I just got spread too thin this year. Too many parent doctor visits and commissions and stuff like that. So I spread myself way too thin. That's why I'm trying hard to catch up now. Yeah, I want to get rid of the side items, because if I keep these side items in the boxes forever, then by the time I get to them, nobody will ever care. But I think like maybe one STL file, and we'll kind of use the other ones. Get them out the door. Like I would love to do more for the Patreon, but I can't. I'm just spread too thin. But like you guys said, the Patreon's more just like instead of donating to the channel. That's kind of what I'm thinking next year. And then if I could get all these side items that are collecting dust out of my house gone, then we could get back to just doing STL file stuff. I've learned in the hobby, if you kind of sit on this stuff forever, by the time you do it and get it out the door, no one's going to care about it. What I used to like to do, when I was ahead of the game and everything was kind of like, had a good flow going, I used to like to just do my Saturdays to do my own stuff quietly. You know, kind of just wake up on the Saturday and just do my own stuff, but I'm still kind of doing all these commissions. You know, I haven't heard from Jacob either. He came and streamed that one day, and then he emailed me and then he disappeared again. I still have a Supergirl. I hope he's okay. He was supposed to email me back, but he didn't. I'm kind of concerned. Hoping nothing happened seriously to him. Because I usually do a inventory check in the house every time people are ready to send me stuff. And I keep looking over to the right of me and there's that wrapped up Supergirl sitting there. So I'm kind of a little worried. But I do have a fun work in progress video series for next year. I'm not going to spoil it. I might do updates on Patreon when I work on it, just to give you guys sneaks of it. But it should be a fun series. If I can get that character done and this other 1/3 character I have, I could get those boxes out of my house. Yeah, I hope he's okay too. He was supposed to email me back and he never got back to me. And it's not like I'm rushing him to get the Supergirl, but it's been here for about 6 months now. And I just hope he's alright. Because I know it was like he was so excited about it was Holy Grail, but then he ended up in the hospital, so. Well, hopefully if he watches this video, get in touch with me. Getting there, almost there. Whew. I think this is definitely a 1/3, right? This is 1/3. It's about about almost 20 inches. Yeah, I guess it's closer to 1/3. It was a bitch getting this rod up this lathe though. worst design ever to put this tiny little metal peg at the bottom of his foot for this top heavy statue. I don't know why Onage does that all the time. They're great for their kits, but they never support them. Because there was this peg and there was this rod. It only went up inside the peg like a quarter of an inch, and then there was like another rod in this ankle up here. This little ankle would be holding up this whole statue, and over time probably would start going forward. So I had to Dremel all the way up the leg, and I Dremeled all the way up here as far as I could. So there's this key stock going all the way up now. But I don't understand why they never put rods up the legs. If I was to produce this item, I would tell them, like, you've got to put a rod up that leg. You know? So the guy I do this for, I've done a lot of work for him in the past. I told him, I said, we're going to put a rod up this leg. I said, there's no way I'm painting this and giving it to you and then it breaks or warps over time. Ooh, of course I don't need to drop it. I think with these Onage kits, I spend more time securing them than actually having to paint them and prep them. Because they're really prepped well. And they're like usually ready to go with paint, you know, with a little primer and cleaning, but they never secure any of the supports on them. So I'm always adding rods up the legs on these kits for people. Oh, was that the, what was that, the sideshow one? Is that the one you're talking about? They probably put a rod all the way up the, from the foot all the way up to the torso. I know. Remember the Rogue that Sideshow did? Remember that Rogue, the second one where she's like, she's sort of flying, and she's got the Sentinel on her hand. They actually showed how they engineered that on one of their videos, where they had like a bar and then they kind of bolted the bar to another bar and it was kind of like all bolted together, and then they casted up the resin over that engineering system. So that was engineered really well. So, but with these Onage kits though, you know, it's just somebody like you or me producing an item, and they're not telling, you know, and I'm pretty sure Onage would be like, well, if you want to put rods up there, we got to charge you more, and they're probably like, well, I'm not paying that, you know. Like I said, when I have to do this white trim, oh, it's going to be a long morning. And white's not a color I can really paintbrush and make it look clean. Only thing that sucks with this texture in blue, it likes to pick up dust. Actually, I like this blue now, the more I look at it. It's not a bad looking blue. I probably could get his base painted too tomorrow. Spend a few hours doing that. Alright, so we need red. So pretty much a red out of the bottle. That's kind of empty. So the one red I love is this Evil Sun Scarlet from Citadel. Even though it says layer, it's still, I don't know what the layer is, but it goes on nice and smooth. Just gotta thin it a little bit. Let's get the Space Ghost heads out of the way so they don't turn red. One thing I didn't realize is when I started working on this, even though there's a textured outfit, they show veins. Like, he has veins coming out of the textured outfit, which is strange. I didn't pick up on that when I was working, when I did my garage kit review. It's a little weird. Yeah, I understand if it's a character that should have veins all over, but I don't understand why veins are coming off of a textured outfit. Like, an outfit like this screams like the Superman from, like, Henry Cavill Superman, where you wouldn't see veins. I don't know. couldn't sand them off anyway if you wanted to. So we're going to use some mahogany for shading. And then after that, we'll do a little pearl misting or something. Yeah, Hulk, Venom, or some kind of barbarian, or... I just know a lot of people sort of like the vein look, which is fine, but for me, no. Why is this mahogany like... Oh, this isn't the... This was a mixed up one. Yeah, that's why. That's why. problem with red. There's not really great metallics out there. Let's see if I have anything that can sort of make it pop. I did have one turbo dork color. I wonder if I ran out of it. Just this one. Oh. You know what? We'll mix some interference red. That's what we'll do. Wait, do I have it? Yeah. I'll mix a little bit of that Citadel red with a touch of interference red, and then maybe a little bit of this Craytex Wicked Colors Pearl Red. Even though this is Pearl Red, there's really no pearl in it. I don't even know if I have any left in here. It looks like pearl, but it doesn't really come out like a pearl. Alright, so without overdoing brown shading, I have Crimson from Badger. This can darken up some areas without It's a very potent red, which I like. I don't know if this Badger makes it anymore. I'm pretty sure they do. looks pretty superhero-ish, I guess you could say. Hey Jose, what's up? I was working on your item, you missed it. Had a little bit of a kerfuffle with the body, but I'm working on it. That looks good. I think I should do a satin coat on it. I think a satin coat would look good on the red. That's what we'll do. Yeah, satin works better on the red. I like it better. It's good. Flat would be too boring. I don't want to make it glossy either, because glossy would look weird as hell shining. Space Ghost heads are always in the way. Now for the fun part. Yeah, this red's gonna pop nice. no overspray. A little bit over here, but I can get in there with a paintbrush. And then the overspray over here. Not really. A little bit here. I'll clean that up. Alright, so about 3 spots of overspray, but I can fix that. Get in there, get in there with a paintbrush and do trim of white all around here. And then touch up any spots I missed. Like I think I missed a little spot here. Yeah, this might be it's dust. It's not really like heavy overspray. Of course, tasting it and then not very good for you. That looks pretty good. Didn't do heavy black shading on the blue because then it would look like it just looked all muddy. Alright. I just gotta take some pictures and send it to him, and then do the next steps. Grab a couple quick pics. Alright, put him aside for tomorrow. Let's see how this is. Probably gonna leave her on the desk. This, oops. This all set up for tomorrow. Alright, so this side's all looking good now. I think just once I get in there with some paints and kind of clean it up, it'll be a little bit better. I don't think I need to sand it down anymore. So it looks light. Let's see. Hold on, let me just try it. Yeah, okay, so this side is see, it's hard to tell. I can't tell if it's still worked or if it's just the paint. I think it's just the paint. Doesn't feel like it's, but it looks like it is. I don't know if it's the paint or... I'm afraid to add another coat of paint and then only have to sand it down again. It's hard to tell from the... I think it's just a layer of paint. I think I'm going to hit it with a quick layer of paint, see if it's an issue. If it is, then tomorrow morning I got some work ahead of me. Alright, let's hit it with some paint, see if it's looking okay, and then I'll know what to do tomorrow. Well, still something there. Yep, I'm gonna have to work on it tomorrow. All right. There's something uneven there, and I still think it's where I have the resin to the paint and stuff. Alright, I'll figure it out. It's got to be that the paint and primer sticking up and there's a layer. So what I think I need to do, what I really got to do, magnifying glasses on for this. We're going to really I'm not even messing around anymore, screw it. We're just gonna make my life easier. And we're just gonna let this dry overnight. And I'm just gonna fine sand it in the morning. Really slow with paper so it evens it out. And then I'm going to prime it, and hopefully that solves this issue, because there's just something weird. Too much layering. That doesn't solve it. We're gonna drop kick it into the woods, and then we'll be done with it. See, other than that, chin's looking good. Not really seeing any issues with that now. Alright, if I solve this problem in the morning and it's all good to go, after lunch I'll probably going to stream again tomorrow painting this, because I want to get this skin tone done. But if I'm not streaming tomorrow, I didn't solve the problem. So, it all depends on if I have a good morning, the coffee's good, and I solve this then. Because if I could solve it in the morning, prime it, and it's good to go, I can let it dry, have lunch, and then I can start painting this up. But other than that, we should be good to go. If not, just going in the woods. Alright, that's where I'm done for tonight. I I need a rest from this stuff. So like I said, if I solve this in the morning, I'll stream in the afternoon. If I'm not streaming, then this thing went foobar on me. But you guys have a good rest of your night, and hopefully I'll see you tomorrow.